Once upon a time, a group of soldiers with unknown origin had flew into a ship, and okay, more like flew in a ship, not flew into, flew in, and this was the ship. So eventually, they came across a snowy land. From there, well, the group didn't agree with each other much. So, let me just get it all. There was the red guy. There were two green guys. And then a gray-yellow guy. So, the red guy ended up brainwashing the memory of the two green guys. So, the two green guys acted as slaves, pretty much. Upon doing so, they basically just would protect the red guy. And the yellow guy wasn't okay with this, but the two green guys weren't okay with him trying to fight the red one because that's just different from how they would remember things. So, one day, they went to war because they didn't like each other. That's my only excuse. So yeah, they went to war. Yellow was more ambushed, and he was making it out. So he ran out of the building, not the ship, just the building. And he was being chased by these two, while the red one stayed in the building and was looking through like cameras and trying to find some like help because they were lost and they didn't know where to really go. So upon the chase with yellow and the green people, they came across this blue guy right here. You'll see him good? I'm pretty sure y'all do. The blue guy. So from the start, he was weird because his suit was blue, which meant he wasn't on any of the team of red, yellow, or green. And they didn't know where his origins were or anything like that. So yellow hid behind a near rock while green started shooting at blue. When blue got shot, it was like his wound absorbed and was gone. And it was almost like his suit was a armor or a skin because his mask had a mouth. Doesn't really have a mouth, just imagination. So they end up going to war. He ends up killing the green guys, stomps on the head, whatever. So yellow ended up hiding, and whenever the blue one walked off, yellow ran away because that was sort of a more smart thing to do. Meanwhile, blue followed the distress signal that red was sending out, and he shot him basically from behind. That's how that went. So as the days went on and yellow was left alone, the nights grew colder and colder because they were in a snowstorm in the mountains, and the ship, well, had already ran out of gas, so he couldn't really use that, and he didn't want to really go back because he didn't want to have to deal with whatever that yellow creature was that was presumably working for or going after red. So he decided whenever he came upon a cave, he would mine the ingredients or whatever and as the days would go on, and he would eat random animals in there like snakes or some sort of bats or whatever, he would upgrade his suit to looking like this, and he would end up upgrading his weapon. So yep, he goes from this to this. He's more yellow on the outside now, and gray on the inside instead of more gray on the inside and yellow on the other side, whatever. So, one day, he's not sure when, probably years from now, because it was a long time, help arrived. It was still a snowstorm type weather, but it was nowhere near as bad compared to all the time ago. By this point, the yellow guy got used to being alone, so he got better at fighting, better at protecting himself, and it's just better with stuff in general, so yeah. But he ended up coming across 4 direct people. There was this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Now, whenever he found them, he could tell they were people and stuff, but they weren't threats. You could just tell. And when they saw him, they were confused about his origin. So yeah, he ended up going with them. They ended up going in their ship they have right here, and going back to their little area. So they weren't in the mountains no more. No, they were more in a type of grassland area in the woods, like a little field in the woods. So for here, for whatever reason, there was Freddy Fazbear and then Chip and Dale. They also stayed with the four guys. So one day, whenever the 4 guys, Freddy Fazbear, Chip and Dale, and the yellow guy, were just all hanging out, I guess you'd put it, this blue guy came to the door in asking of help. He had a pistol, but he wasn't aiming it at him. He didn't seem like a threat, and this is what he looked like. He said that he had gotten lost from his group, who had a plane. Like, they had a jet or whatever, like a rocket ship or something, a spaceship, and they traveled through space. But well, whenever they were getting close to the ground, something, they said, had attacked them, and well, he had gotten knocked out of the ship somehow. But thanks to a parachute that the suit had, he managed to survive. But now he doesn't have the parachute with him because he can't pack it in the suit. So they ended up all staying together. Things were going good. They were hanging out. That was all until one day, well, say 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, this blue guy had appeared. Yep, the one from before. But none of them knew about his origin other than the yellow guy. The blue guy didn't know this was the same yellow guy because he had upgraded his suit and his weapon. So the blue guy was more so doing, not killing them, but like he was hanging out with them. And the yellow kept watch. He would, in the darkness, sorta follow them all. From there, the characters, or at least the main 4, And then Blue especially started growing a bond with the light blue character. But Yellow kept his guard up 100% because he knew this was the same person that had killed Green in front of him. And presumably killed Red because he never heard from Red again. So, yeah. One day, whenever Yellow just so happened to not be right there, he was talking to Blue, and then the four men right here had went hunting in the woods. Blue, the light blue one, was with Chip and Dale and Freddy Fazbear in the house. And, in short terms, he killed all three of them. Because they're not important characters. So yeah, they just died. So, meanwhile, Yellow and Dark Blue were arguing because, well, Blue didn't like Yellow spying on the light blue teammate because both blues are apparently on the same team because they're blue. And Yellow was trying to reason with him, telling him why it was, but Blue wouldn't believe it. So, Blue ended up stomping off, mad, and that's how it went with him. So, then, that meant only Yellow and Blue were in the same location because Yellow and the dark blue one didn't know that this one just killed the others that were in the house. So they ended up battling out. People were each of them were throwing each other into the walls, breaking furniture by hitting each other with the furniture or throwing each other into the furniture. So while this was happening, the main four, well, not main four, but these four were on their way back. So, these two chose not to stay back, but to walk slower than the group. These two walked faster, but this one walked slightly faster. So this one arrived first, this one arrived second, the last two arrived last. So, while the light blue and yellow were battling, let me try and do like this. They were battling. In short terms of how to put it, this guy heard, so he ran to a nearby window that was open, and while they were fighting, he didn't know who to shoot, who to help, because he didn't know who started the fight, and why the fight even started, or anything like that. So, he had his gun out, and he was ready to shoot, but he waited because he didn't know who to shoot. So that's reasonable. We'll do like this for his position. And meanwhile, yellow stabs blue in the stomach all the way through, completely impaling him. But while it happens, he falls to the ground, presumably dead, and then just goes right back up. And his stomach is no longer impaled. He then puts his gun in the back of his suit and does the thing like he's about to fight, putting his fist up. So, then, whenever blue, because just so y'all don't know the weapon he has, if you touch it, it'll kill you, unless you're holding the handle. Blue then grabs the blade and stuff like that, and it's not affecting him, like, at all. It's not It's not cutting his hands, not poisoning him, not killing him, anything. And that's when this guy realizes something must be wrong with Blue. So he starts shooting Blue repeatedly. But Blue doesn't take damage. Or at least, he doesn't seem to. So, by this point, this one had heard the gunshots go off, so he yelled to the two that were further back, "Hey, someone's going down at the house." And then they all started running, with him being the closest one. So, meanwhile, these two were the main ones fighting. This one was support. And then the other three were coming. So, all of a sudden, that's when Blue then grabbed the purple thing, pulled out his gun, and used it to completely cut off Yellow's arm, which obviously would be a lot of pain. And then this guy started shooting at Blue repeatedly, shooting, all the gun bullets and stuff like that going through the chest. But he didn't die, and this guy ran out of ammo. So then he took out Blue, and right as he jumped out the window and was starting to walk towards this guy who was on the ground crawling away now with fear. Well, let's see. I have to put this on before I continue. Well, put on like the guy's arm again. That way I can just put it down there. Right as Blue was about to take out this guy, one of the teammates had came. And it was this one who had two guns with him. One being a shotgun with a sniper rifle thing at the top. I don't know what it's called. And the other one, I'm not sure what it is, but it's this. He ended up shooting in at Blue, which seemed to be more effective. He actually reacted more, not with sound, but with body language, as if it hurt more or like put more pressure on him, but he still wouldn't die. So the two are obviously kind of freaked out, like very adrenaline busted right now, or whatever it's called, full of adrenaline. So they then were working together to fight it, and then right as he got the upper hand and did some sort of spin dash and hit them both in the head with his gun in the process, these two then came in, and well, this guy obviously had another gun, and he had a shovel, plus a knife on the back. This guy had a knife on him, and a gun, and extra ammo, plus a bomb. So now it was up to these two to save their teammates. So whenever this one went, the gun wasn't affecting him, and he managed to get close enough to hit him in the arm with the shovel, which took off his arm, but then his arm regenerated. And from there, boom, dead. And then he went ahead and took out the other two as well that were already weak. So now it was these two fighting. The gun was more effective because it shot real fast, so it was sort of like reacting before his stomach or whatever could fully regenerate in a healing process. But the healing process was faster. So the gun wasn't effective enough. And he also had a knife, so whenever Blue got too close or shot, he was able to dodge it with a knife because he was in well, a really well experienced, trained soldier. And he actually started winning and came up from behind and sort of stabbed Blue right in the spine area. So just to be sure that this is somewhat of how it looked. And he started walking off because Blue wasn't moving, but Blue faked it. Blue then got up and started shooting this guy, and this guy died. And then he went on the hunt for Dark Blue, because Dark Blue, remember as I told y'all, walked off in an argument with Yellow angrily before. So now these are the only two left. And this one is somewhere in the woods. We don't know where. Alright, so just so y'all know, it's being done in parts. So this, with these characters, was part 1. The part you just saw was part 2. And I might do more parts in a second. I'm still deciding. Past story time info. So this part of the story takes place whenever Dark Blue was with his team. Because remember, he said he was in a ship or whatever, like that. And he was in the ship and then sort of like got fallen out somehow. So here's 2 of his teammates, which are Dark Blue. Here's the one that we were talking about. He has a different gun on his back at the time, and he's the leader. He carries a flag. So there's also one more teammate. Their other teammate is See-Through. He is a harder to find teammate because you can't really see him good. So there was a lie about the past. He was not in a ship. No, he was not at all. So, in short terms, they had found a distress signal where people had claimed to be from the Arctic or whatever. And, well, Dark Blue, that's the one we'll go with. Dark Blue. Or we'll do DB. No. We'll do B. We'll say his name is B, okay? So B decided, hey team, since I'm the leader, I'm deciding that we will go to the Arctic or whatever. That way we could try and help with the people who sent the distress signal. So that's what the team was doing. So they had made it, they went in their ship, stuff like that. And upon arriving, though, they weren't able to make it to the distress signal, but they were like hundreds of miles away because they were real far. They had to stop because a hurricane had happened, and they weren't currently flying in space this time. They were space travelers, but not currently. Well, they were taking a break in short terms. So the group decided they would just hold out for a couple days, whatever. So that's what they were doing. And upon waiting, though, something came after them. This guy, he seemed less strong than he looked, but he was fighting the entire group, and in the do so, B got thrown off of a cliff into a science place that was at the bottom that they didn't know about, and he fell into a cloning device and activated it, but got out before any cloning was done, or that he knew of. So that's how he got separated. Miles falling, probably. He only really survived because of his suit. And he never heard from his teammates again. He never heard about his horse, and upon falling, he lost this. Like, he just couldn't find it, and his gun also came off. So, no more gun, no more stand, no more of this. And that's sort of what his real story is. Very different, because he did not fall out of a ship. So yeah. Back to the current storyline. Alright, so B had been constantly traveling day and night, day and night, day and night. So this character wasn't able to catch up with him at all, because he kept constantly moving. One day, probably a month and a half after he had left the original 4 and chose not to come back because he was just so mad, he ended up finding someone that he remembered, his horse. And obviously they were happy and excited to sort of see each other, and he ended up getting back on his horse, riding, and the horse brought him to where his team was. So, whenever he saw that this was his team, he was obviously so happy. All 3 of them looked pretty much the exact same. Nothing bad happened that he knew of. And yeah, they were shocked he was alive, because they had thought he died all that time ago. And he thought they sort of died all that time ago. But they didn't. So they decided, well, since it turns out none of us died, we should continue our mission. And that's when it dawned on B. Whenever him and Yellow were arguing, well, Yellow had mentioned that he was the one stuck in the distress signal area. But he didn't think much of it. But I mean, he surely wasn't telling the truth. He just wanted to spy on the bright yellow. So they decided, okay, we'll continue the mission. Do we still have a ship? And, well, B found out no. They don't have a ship anymore. So they had to travel on foot. So B, his team, also mentioning the horse, all traveled on foot. While doing so, though, we'll say probably 17 days later, they came across a group. A whole new group. So this group was a green group. This is them. And they claimed they were looking for their teammate who had went after the Atlantic distress signal, but Blue was also going for. And in the end, they decided to work together. So now there were 6 people and a horse all working together, going to the same area, and eventually they did. I'm not going to say how long, because I don't even know how long to picture that, so yeah. Let's see. Upon making it to the place, the blue team was talking about how there was that one guy that was strong that separated the group, and they were talking about, like, oh, what if they see him again? they have 2 more people now, so they might win, but what if the people don't help? What if he's still too strong? Whatever, stuff like that, you know. Basic stuff that people might think about. So, whenever they made it, well, it was weird. They found the teammate they were looking for right here. But, in the do so, they found purple teammate, which was against them. He was hunting this guy, so this is an enemy. Also, they found this guy who was originally hunting the blue group, but now it wasn't just him, it was him and 2 others, which is pretty bad because it just took 1 to sort of destroy the group of 4. But yeah, so that's already 4 against them. They also found 2 flying aliens at the same location, also hunting them now. And there was a clone of D, just he had a different gun. So they were all confused on what to do. Should they fight? Should they try to make an alliance? Should they just walk away? Or should they, like, try talking for whatever reason about something? Right as they were about to make their move, whatever it was going to be, they were still unsure. Light Blue came in. He literally just walked into the doors in between both the blue team and then the green team, and then the whole enemy team right here. And he wasn't talking. So B then said, "Light Blue, you're still here? I didn't. Were you following me or something?" Light Blue didn't talk. He just suddenly looked at the enemy team and then began shooting. But, alright, first up, it didn't affect these 3 because they had ammo, and it didn't affect this one because he had good ammo, or this one, but it killed off the 2 aliens. And then he started shooting at the other team, but it also didn't work because they had ammo. Not ammo, they had suits on. So, he then immediately charged at the enemy team's side. And from there, he went after the clone of B. Before B could react, he stabbed him in the neck with the top of the gun. And then with this guy, this guy again had something where you shouldn't be able to touch it because it will kill you by burning you. So we started like stabbing him, cutting him up, stuff like that. But it was working, but he revived. And right as he went to go after purple, this guy came in and smashed Light Blue's head in, like completely destroying the head. Not decapitating it, but mashing it, breaking the skull, stuff like that. But he stood up again, his head reformed, and then it went back to fighting. Like, for example, when this guy came in, he used his guns and obliterated Blue, but Blue did not die. This guy used a laser, which is the laser machine gun, and it killed him, but he did not die. These 2, they managed to get close enough and impale him somehow with the gun, but he didn't die. This guy was invisible and used a lava gun on him, and it affected him, but he didn't die. This guy had a grenade launcher / laser beam, and it affected light blue, but he didn't die. And then this guy also started shooting him, but he wouldn't die. Like, no matter what they did, he would not die. He would get affected, but that was it. So, upon winning the fight and successfully killing this, well, dude, currently, like, they knocked him off of a nearby cliff, they decided, hey, wouldn't it be best if we work together because of that guy that was right there? Like, I think we should work together because it'd be safer for all of us, really. But the bad guys had declined. They didn't want that because they wanted to kill the blue team and the green team. And that's what they were going to do. So they chose to do it in sections. So we'll say this guy and this guy had to go first. This guy started shooting. This guy did like some sort of flip to the side, like a barrel roll, I guess, whatever. And then stood up and began shooting him, and it wasn't working. And he managed to get close enough that he knocked off the mask, revealing this thing for the head. And he started shooting it, but he wasn't dying because he was made out of rock. He was a rock monster with ammo and armor. So, right as the orange guy was about to, well, annihilate the green guy, the light blue teammate came in again and somehow managed to stab his, whatever it's called, gun into the helmet of the orange guy, and then he twisted the head until it popped off, which then sort of killed the monster. Everyone was shocked that he managed to kill the monster because that proved even the bad guys weren't going to be strong enough in the end to fight the creature. Especially because there was only 4, especially after the other 3 died. But now there's only 3. So, he then started going after the enemy team again because he wanted to finish the battle. So, while this distraction happened, all the blue teammates right here, and the horse, and the green team decided, hey, while they're fighting, we are gonna get out of here. We're gonna run off real quick. That way, we do not have to deal with a problem like this. That way, we can keep on the move and be perfectly fine. And that's what they did because the bad guys didn't want to work together. So don't help them, leave them. So, let's see. This one had noticed that they had left, so he ran after them. And these 2 chose to fight blue and won again. So they also did what the purple one did. They chose to run after the other team because they wanted to kill them. And that was part 3. Jeez, there were a lot of characters. No one quite knew how much time it was that had passed since the previous incident. You know, the one that just happened. So, all we know for sure is that somehow, some unknown way, light blue again survived, probably regenerating or rehealing real fast, and came across a group of survivors. The group of survivors lived in something like this. Don't know what it's called, I done forgot, but yeah. Lived in this. They had a pole thing for a ladder and a little section to put up their guns if they needed to be, like having a fight there. So, Blue was passed out. The teammates had found him and chose to take him in, take care of him, stuff like that. So first up, we'll introduce this guy who has a fire extinguisher. This guy. This one. These two. Oop. His gun falls out, or fell out. These two, which are two of my favorites in this set. These two, which are two of my other favorites in that set. And then these two. So, total there were 11. Not including light blue, obviously. But yeah, there were 11. So, in short terms, he decided to show his smile that he had because he's not in a suit, remember that. This is him. He's a monster. So he showed a smile on his mask, and it was his sharp teeth, and he just straight up wanted to kill the group. So yeah. At this current moment though, these four characters weren't there because they were out, like, you know, looking around for whatever reason. Like, they have some reason, probably. Y'all can make up a reason if, the comments are able to be used. Make up a reason for why this group went out. This is group 4, so. Yep, that's why that group, or that part of the group, currently wasn't there. And, yeah, the rest were. So, 4 of them were on here. And the 3 that could fly, well, they were already inside, like with this dude. So first up, he attacked this alien, killing the alien inside the place that was in here. The rest were already on the top, and these two flew out and immediately alerted the ones on the top. And then that's when light blue came out. He managed to somehow shoot this one down from the jetpack, so he went like, that's what happened with him. And then this guy was trying to shoot him from the sky, and meanwhile this dude jumped onto here and started fighting these 4. So with this one, he had an invisible hand, and he broke his hand, like in half, and then killed him. So with this one, he just simply plugged his gun into the fire extinguisher, which caused one of the fire flamethrower, which caused it to explode, killing. And then this one wasn't really experienced, so it was quite easy how to picture it, you know, fighting wise or whatever. So the only 2 left within a matter of minutes, just minutes, were these 2. And he managed to get this one who was flying, so explosion. And then these 2 were battling, and in short terms, Blue put his foot in the air, and his leg just popped off. Hold on. He put his foot in the air, and whenever he did, he spun around, so he went, well, bam, kicking him like that. knocking him to the ground. And right as he was about to finish off that orange guy, the other 4 teammates came back. So, luckily, this one who was good at aiming hit Light Blue in the back of the head. So, then they all charged at Light Blue. This one with his weapons, this one with his swords, these 2 with the guns. So, what's the easy way to put it like for fighting? We'll do one at a time. So this guy was sort of weak, so he couldn't really fight at the time. So, with the robot, just simply, he got torn apart, because, I mean, this was not a normal human they were fighting, it was an alien, so he was stronger than the average person, so, torn apart. This one was doing good because since he had swords and, had swords because they just fell out. Since he had swords and not guns, he was using the swords, and the swords were really effective. So they discovered his weakness was not guns, but was sharp objects like swords or whatever that could penetrate the skin and still be stuck in. But he ended up dying because he wasn't blocking his skull or anything like that, and that's literally what his head is, a skull. So, Blue then started shooting this guy in the chest, but he had a bulletproof vest on, so nothing happened. So they went out in all-out war, and whenever Blue got too close to him, the leader out of him and this guy came in, the leader, he put his staff on the ground and kicked Blue in the face and then shot him. So they were both doing their, fighting type disaster thing, mob, whatever you want to call it. But obviously in the end, Blue was not giving up. He still ended up finding their weakness and slowly, one by one, killed off the last 3. Meanwhile, while this happened, with the blue guy, the green team and the blue team was still on the run. So they already were faster because they were running off while the enemies were fighting each other. So they got an advantage for him. And then he got distracted with the other group. So they definitely had an advantage now. But their story's not over. Because now it's time for set number 5. So, they ended up coming across something sort of like the red thing. You saw like the red box, but it wasn't a red box because it was a white one. So there were only 2 people living in here instead of last time where it was like, oh, a whole bunch of people. Nah, it wasn't that this time. Alright, so one of the 2 people that lived here was a member of the green group, which was on the run, and it was this guy. And not just was he a member, but first up, he didn't have any weapons when it came to typical weapon-wise, but he was real smart and managed to make a robot. Like, it's something like a suit, so he could get in the suit and fight, but it could also fight it with itself without someone in the suit. So he didn't have weapons really, but he was really smart, and it was like, this was definitely a weapon. So yeah, that just got 4 members of the green group Um, so then the second one though was this guy who was a white teammate, and he was armed, man. He was really armed. He had a gun right here. Then he had whatever it's called, a knife. He had a pickaxe. He had ammo, water, and then a gun on the back. Like, this man, he is prepared to travel. And prepared for, like, hiking and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, not much to say. They talked. They weren't really against each other or anything like that, like, at all. So, yeah. One thing that was a problem, though, was whenever Blue and the Green team tried telling these two about the threats that were around them and the threat that was on the way, aka Light Blue, they didn't believe it. And they said they weren't going to travel because of that. They just weren't going to travel. Like, who in the world is going to just, like, do that? Because, like, yeah, there's threats. They're after y'all, not us. If y'all stay, we'll help y'all fight. But if not, then we're not in the fight. This is where things were going sort of bad for the group. Because, well, Green didn't want to leave a teammate behind. Like a green teammate. This one could care less about leaving this new teammate behind, but he didn't want to leave the two that were already with him now behind. And the two that were with him now didn't want to leave their new teammate behind. Because they're the only four green ones that they knew about. And they were separated for a while, and now they're together, so it's like they don't want to be separate. So, Blue decided to continue on their journey on finding the people. And, well, they went themselves. So it was just Blue and their horse. They were nervous because now their group pretty much just got decreased by half the amount of what they had. And they didn't know what to really say or do. Like, they couldn't really change it because they can't force them to do anything. So, Green Group chose to stay with their new member that was green and was real smart. So, little did they know, the enemies that were fighting the blue player or whatever had survived. And they were not far behind. So we'll say like a day went by. And it was nighttime now. And, well, here were the three enemies. So, the new teammate was obviously smart. He didn't get close. So he had his robot closer by. But they immediately started attacking the robot. And, well, yeah. That was it. They were attacking the robot. They were slowly taking chunks of it off, but not a lot because it was built really good and really strong. But the white teammate chose to come out and stop the fight. And when he did, well, bam! In the head. So he sort of did not make it. And he was the most armed out of all of them. He would have been the best fighter, weapon-wise. But yeah, sadly, he's not in the fight anymore. Already making it where it's already 4 humans and a robot versus 3 really strong people. Or things, for that matter. So, this green teammate, who was on the run from purple, they had to fight. While the other 3 that were green had to fight the other 2 strong guys with the help of a robot. went something like this. Bam, bam, bam. Block, block, block. And that's how that was. They were both armed very good, and they were both really skilled. So it's like they would both hurt each other the same amount and hurt themselves the same amount, and they didn't really have a winning option because they were both at the same level. So that's how that was for that. Neither one won, neither one died. Meanwhile, this guy was preparing. He was trying to fight them or whatever. So, and they were blocking stuff like that at first until he went crushing this character's rib cage, which already ended the idea of the group being together. This guy, basically, he got attacked by this one and got himself in the head with the gun. Because trying to not say some stuff for YouTube. Which already left, just these two left. And this guy wasn't going to leave because he was upset because his buddy had already died and the two teammates had left. So this guy immediately knew he had to run. So that's what he did. He ran while being chased by Purple. Purple, that's right, left the other two to fight the robot. So they killed off the guy that made the robot and then started destroying the robot. So yeah, that's how Chapter 5 ends. Time for Chapter 6, y'all. Chapter 6 has a lot of characters, okay? Like, a whole lot of characters. So, let me pause the video, get them all out, and then just show it to y'all. Alright, so, first four we have are this. Oh, I'm trying to get it without them falling. We have these. So, y'all might recognize this one by his suit. He was the one with the two people, the one that had the staff or whatever. So, his team is already dead. He might not know it yet, but yeah. Then we have this guy and Cuphead. Next, we have these four. Then we have these two. Then we have these ones, which were one of the original four, but y'all know they died. So, how are they back? Guess you have to wait and see. If y'all actually watched this boring video this long. Then we have this guy, who just like the previous version y'all saw. This one also has a robot of his own. This one has a jetpack though. And two lasers inside of one giant laser. So, pretty cool. Yay. Happy, happy, happy. Story doesn't start with them fighting Blue or I mean Light Blue. And it doesn't start with them fighting the enemies. So let me just align them all up. That way I can just have it more organized, okay? Yeah, so this set has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 characters right here. Different characters on their side starts with them being introduced to the blue team because blue team ran first out of the more recent time. So yeah, they ran eventually and made it to all of these characters. I don't even know where at this time. We'll say uh we'll say they they were on a ship, a really big ship. Okay. Um. Yeah. So yeah, they eventually blue team ends up eventually coming across all these people. They end up having a good time, telling them about like the weird set of long time adventures they've been on, especially Blue because he is one of the originals. Like he's been in this scenario for years now. Then Green ends up coming, and Blue team obviously know Green. Green knows Blue team, and yeah. So he ends up telling them the others have died. They're all devastated, and he tells them how the villains are still alive, and they're shocked about this. So yeah, and that's when the green team member right here, we'll put him right there, ends up seeing that this place has these two teammates, but he trusting Dark Blue. Well, he trusted Dark Blue, and Dark Blue also knew about them. Some. Just kidding. He didn't know about them. But yeah. Green thought that they had died, but he didn't have any proof, and they could easily just say they didn't die, so nothing else to say for now. Shortly after he arrived, that's when Purple arrived. And that's when the fight starts. Wait. The fight starts. No. Fight doesn't start. Because he realizes with that blue guy, the light blue guy being alive, they need to work together because they need to find a weakness as fast as possible. So he actually tells them all this. And even Blue Team and the green guy right here are a little skeptical, but they also agree. So they end up more so actually choosing to work together. Even these two, who had been fighting each other for years. But just a couple minutes later, probably 30 minutes, these two arrive, and they do not care about that blue teammate being alive, being a threat to whoever. They still want to kill everyone that they can. And that's what they're going to do. Yeah, in their opinion. So, the purple teammate tries telling them not to do it because that is not in the best interest of survival. But they don't care because they're rocks. They can just sort of live unless their head gets cut off somehow. So, yeah. Well, this one actually considers it. Like, he actually starts thinking, that actually is a kind of smart idea. So, he actually tries talking to the blue teammate, who doesn't listen. So the blue teammate then hits the red teammate in the chest area, knocking him out. Not killing him, but knocking him out. And then all the others choose to start fighting him, with the blue team and these two being last because they'd be more support because of the ambush that's already happening. So, let's see. Which one should I do? This guy, dead. And that's pretty much it. Only one died. That part. Because this was not the threat. And he realized, well, even if he doesn't want to die, he could still lose. And if his one teammate had died originally and the other two are now, well, agreeing that they should work together and stop it, he decides, you know what, I guess we'll work together because they proved to me they're actually going to try and survive. They're strong enough themselves. We can all work together and try to stop him. But they have to not really use guns. They have to use swords or something like that, which is where the problem comes in. So they decide to separate everyone. So they separate, like, the ones with guns only in that section, ones with, like, pipes or whatever in that section, ones with fists in that section, you know, stuff like that. Ones with powers, they get their section. So yeah, that's pretty much how that is. So they were devising a plan. So they first have these three right here. They would shoot at him to make him angry. This next set would be there to hit him. The robot be there like to kick him, shoot him, and hit him, stuff like that. And yes, that's a person in the suit. Right here, they would be all punching him and stuff like that. And right here would be the last set, like, you know, more so help finish them because they've already been in the fight. They might as well just be one of the last ones to fight. That way, they could make sure no one else gets hurt. Like, they can come in if needed. So, basically, Blue doesn't take too many times to come in. Like, we'll say a day or two later, he came and he was prepared with his gun, his skills, and his power. So that's what happened. This guy saw him with a sniper. He alerted everybody. And then this one had a shotgun. And this one had a type of shotgun that would hurt when it goes through you. And all three of them began shooting at Light Blue. And then right when he came in, that happens to be like right when he was coming after them. And right as he was about to get him, Robot Guy came in, kicked him, and like obviously kicked him real far. But yeah, what's the easiest way of putting it now? Because y'all already are probably tired. It's already been like an hour. He started shooting him. Bam, 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 bam. And he was being hurt, but not really effectively. So then this guy came in. He started hitting him, shooting him, hitting him, shooting him, hitting him, shooting him with his weapons. And it wasn't working. And right when Blue started going after the rock guy then, that's when these three came in. And they started hitting him. And this guy started stabbing him with a sword and hitting him with the shield. And basically all five of them were surrounding him. And then, well, he died, came back, died, came back, died, came back, died, came back. And then he got mad still. And right as he was about to go for one of them, they backed away. Hold on. The robot fell apart some. They backed away. And the fist fighter characters came out. First was Cuphead. Pew, 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 pew. Right as he went to go after him, this guy who had one arm and was invisible but was a blue, like, invisible character, then punched Light Blue in the head. And then right as he spun around, this one was there punching him. He spun around again. This one punched him, spun around again. And this guy grabbed him by the neck and body slammed him. Sorta, yeah. Weird, funny, let me know. So then, this alien, who was small, started like spinning around or whatever and doing that thing that Knuckles the Echidna does, and went bam, 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 you know, spinning around. And like while he's spinning around, he was like punching him, bam, 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 whatever. And then right as he got back up and started to go after the little alien, this guy, he went and like basically jumped up and kicked him. And then right before he could hit the ground from falling, this invisible yellow guy came and kicked him in the back. And then, well, that's the thing. They were killing him, but he would not really die because punching him hurt, shooting him hurt, but you could only win if you actually stabbed him. So you couldn't just beat him, you had to stab him. And then, right as they all started surrounding him, though, that happens to be when he pulled out his weapon and started shooting all around him, killing all the fist fighters that were there, except for... No, not Cuphead. Cuphead dies. Except for this one. So, 7 characters died because he pulled out his gun. Right then, that's when the blue team came in. They were a little slow, I know, but that was as fast as they could react. So, they came in. This guy stayed in because, well, they needed a fist fighter still. And this guy was like, hey, wait a minute. They need someone that's also got a sword. That way they could cut him up and stuff. So, that's sort of what happened. They came in. All the blue team started shooting at him. These ones started beating him and shooting at him. This one started punching him. This one started stabbing him. And then the others right here were watching in case something went wrong or something like that. Y'all know. Basic things. They killed him. And he sort of faded into the ground. So they actually thought they won. Because he was gone now. So, yeah. That's it. That's all there was to the thing. Because they believed they killed him. He didn't come back. And yeah, nothing else for y'all to really know. Until the final chapter. Chapter 7. I don't know, this is the final chapter, I promise, okay? Chapter 7. So, Chapter 7, we have a Transformer. I don't know who this is. Let me know if y'all know who it is. There's that. Then, we have more He-Man characters, because, you know, we had him before, right here, but he was in less of his suit. Then we had this guy who's a He-Man character. Now we have these ones who are He-Man characters. So we got He-Man. We have the one Predator type thing. We have 2 different Green Ninjas, one from the movie, one from the show. And then, so this guy is a member of this team. So originally, there was this one, and then these 2. They're like sort of see-through or whatever. Hold on. See-through. Now we have a red one that's see-through-ish. So then we have another red guy, which, in case y'all don't remember, in the original set I showed, like literally an hour and 14 minutes ago, we had the red guy, but he did not have a sword. So yep, now he's back too. So like all the characters from the original came back in some way, just at different times. And then we have these 2 right here. we're just gonna say they're in a desert now, okay? They're all in a desert, just for a different setting. For y'all to picture, I don't know. They're all here for no real reason. So they thought they killed Blue. Light Blue. But they did not. No, they did not at all. They did not succeed. So he hunted them one by one. This one choked. This one hid in the helmet. That way he couldn't breathe because his helmet helps him breathe with oxygen. This one survives for now. These three, the three that were originally shooting, they all died because they're not too important to the plot anymore. So, let's see. And the main victims that he's had are still alive. Oh yeah, so remember how I said in the original version, like chapter 1, this guy went for the red one, but it focused on the yellow guy, so he never found out if Red died, but he presumably thought Red died. Well, Red, like I guess, Red never died. He survived. So yeah. That's already a cool thing, because you know, like, the very last chapter focused on the original in a way. But yeah, starting off with the story, because I'm going to end it at 1 hour and 32 minutes. But I gotta try and make it seem quick and long. Anyways. Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Upon realizing he was not dead, they all started beginning to make a new plan. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We can't just stay here forever.